Robert was always the one who remembered every birthday, every appointment, every detail of every conversation. When he started forgetting where he put his keys, losing track of conversations mid-sentence, and struggling to recall names he'd known for decades, his wife knew something was wrong. What they didn't know was that there are 5 foods that helped cause his memory loss issues. His doctor ran every test imaginable. Brain scans looked normal. Blood work came back fine. It wasn't until a nutritionist reviewed Robert's daily diet that the real culprit emerged. 5 foods that Robert consumed every single day were silently fueling inflammation in his brain, disrupting how his neurons communicated and accelerating cognitive decline. Today, I'm revealing these 5 common foods that scientific research has linked to memory destruction in people over 55. Most of them are sitting in your kitchen right now, and the last one on this list is something most people consider a comfort food staple. You'll want to stick around for that one. Before we get to the 5 foods, understanding why certain foods damage memory is essential for making informed choices about what goes on your plate. The process begins with inflammation. When we consume certain foods repeatedly, the body produces toxins as a byproduct of processing artificial ingredients, excessive sugars, and chemical additives. Those toxins trigger an inflammatory response that doesn't just affect joints or muscles, it reaches the brain. When inflammation takes hold in the brain, it disrupts communication between neurons. These are the cells responsible for every thought, every memory, and every cognitive function we rely on daily. When neurons cannot communicate effectively, thinking slows down, memory becomes unreliable, and the persistent fog that so many people over 55 describe begins to settle in. The encouraging news is that every food on this list has a simple, satisfying substitute that protects rather than harms brain function. The first food may surprise many people because it's marketed as the healthier alternative. Diet soda contains 0 calories and no sugar, which sounds like a smart choice on the surface. But what replaces that sugar tells a very different story. Artificial sweeteners and synthetic chemicals designed to mimic sweetness have been studied extensively over the past decade. Research published by the American Heart Association found that seniors who consume diet soda daily face nearly 3 times the risk of developing dementia compared to those who avoid it. Additional studies have linked regular diet soda consumption to increased obesity risk and elevated stroke probability. The chemical compounds in artificial sweeteners interfere with the body's natural metabolic processes and may directly impact brain chemistry in ways that researchers are still uncovering. Recent studies have also raised concerns about aspartame's potential neurological effects, prompting the World Health Organization to classify it as a possible carcinogen. Robert drank 3 diet sodas every day for over 20 years, believing he was making the responsible choice by avoiding sugar. The swap is simple and satisfying. Unsweetened iced tea or water with a touch of natural stevia provides the refreshment without the neurological risk. Many cereal boxes prominently display heart-healthy claims on the front, creating an impression of nutritional virtue. However, examining the nutritional label on the back reveals a troubling reality. Some popular cereals contain more processed sugar in a single serving than 3 cookies. While sugar occurs naturally in fruits and other whole foods, the processed sugars added to cereals behave very differently in the body. Over the past 3 decades, researchers have studied the relationship between processed sugar and brain function extensively. Their findings are alarming. Processed sugar addiction activates the same reward pathways as cocaine and other addictive substances, creating dependency cycles that are difficult to break. The impact on memory is direct and measurable. Processed sugars slow brain activity, impair the ability to retain new information, and contribute to the chronic inflammation that damages neural communication over time. Robert started every morning with a large bowl of cereal he believed was keeping his heart healthy. The alternative doesn't require sacrificing morning routine or satisfaction. Oatmeal topped with dried fruit provides natural sweetness, beneficial fiber, and sustained energy without the processed sugar surge that compromises brain function. Hot dogs, bacon, deli meats, and sausages occupy a central place in many American diets. They're convenient, affordable, and deeply embedded in daily meal routines. But the research linking processed meats to cognitive decline has become impossible to ignore. Processed meats contain nitrosamines, chemical compounds formed during the preservation process that have been directly linked to Alzheimer's disease development. The connection is so strong that some researchers have begun referring to Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes, partly because of how nitrosamines affect insulin signaling in the brain. Beyond nitrosamines, processed meats contain high levels of sodium, saturated fats, and advanced glycation end products that collectively drive inflammatory responses throughout the body. The brain, being one of the most metabolically active organs, absorbs these inflammatory effects disproportionately. A 2021 study from the University of Leeds analyzing data from nearly 500,000 participants found that consuming just 25 grams of processed meat daily, roughly one slice of bacon, was associated with a 44% increased risk of developing dementia. Robert's daily breakfast included bacon alongside his cereal, 2 items on this list combined in a single meal consumed daily for years. The swap doesn't require abandoning protein at breakfast. Fresh eggs, grilled chicken, or plant-based protein alternatives provide satisfying morning nutrition without the neurological risk that processed meats carry. Movie night's favorite companion carries a hidden concern that most consumers never consider. Certain brands of microwave popcorn contain diacetyl, a chemical compound used to create that appealing buttery flavor and aroma. Research has directly linked diacetyl to the accumulation of amyloid plaques in the brain. These protein deposits are one of the hallmark characteristics of Alzheimer's disease. Their buildup interferes with neural communication and contributes to the progressive cognitive decline that defines the condition. The convenience of microwave popcorn makes it a staple snack in many households, particularly among older adults who enjoy its ease of preparation. However, the chemical exposure from regular consumption creates cumulative risk that compounds over years of use. Beyond diacetyl, the bags themselves contain perfluorinated compounds that have been linked to immune system disruption and potential neurological effects. These chemicals leach into the popcorn during the heating process, creating exposure that consumers never see or taste. The solution preserves everything people love about popcorn while eliminating the concern entirely. Organic kernels prepared on the stovetop with a pinch of salt and a modest amount of real butter deliver the same satisfying crunch and flavor. The preparation takes only minutes longer than the microwave version and removes diacetyl exposure completely. If you're finding this information eye-opening and want to learn more about protecting your brain health through practical everyday choices, please hit that subscribe button. Understanding what we put in our bodies is one of the most powerful tools we have against cognitive decline. This is the one worth waiting for. French fries, fried chicken, donuts, and other deep-fried favorites represent some of the most beloved comfort foods in American culture. They're also among the most damaging foods for brain health that current research has identified. The frying process creates compounds called advanced glycation end products, known as AGEs. These compounds accelerate aging at the cellular level throughout the body, but their impact on brain tissue is particularly devastating. AGEs trigger intense inflammatory responses in neural tissue, damage blood vessel walls that supply the brain with oxygen and nutrients, and contribute directly to cognitive decline. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that participants who consumed fried foods more than 4 times per week scored significantly lower on cognitive tests measuring memory, processing speed, and executive function compared to those who rarely ate fried foods. The damage compounds over time. Each exposure to fried foods adds to the cumulative inflammatory burden on the brain. For people over 55, whose neural repair mechanisms are already slowing naturally, this additional inflammatory load can accelerate cognitive decline dramatically. Robert's weekly fish fry tradition and daily French fries with lunch had been contributing to brain inflammation for decades without his knowledge. The alternatives are more satisfying than most people expect. Air frying reduces age formation significantly while maintaining crispy texture. Baking, grilling, and steaming preserve nutrients and flavor without the inflammatory compounds that deep frying creates. All 5 of these foods connect to the same fundamental principle: Chronic inflammation destroys the brain's ability to communicate effectively, and these foods fuel that inflammation through different mechanisms. Diet soda's artificial sweeteners disrupt brain chemistry. Processed sugars in cereal impair information retention. Nitrosamines in processed meats damage insulin signaling in the brain. Diacetyl in microwave popcorn promotes amyloid plaque buildup, and advanced glycation end products in fried foods accelerate neural aging. The path forward doesn't require radical dietary transformation. 5 simple swaps can significantly reduce your exposure to these risks. Replace diet soda with unsweetened tea or stevia-sweetened water. Trade sugary cereal for oatmeal with dried fruit. Choose fresh proteins over processed deli meats and bacon. Prepare stovetop popcorn with organic kernels instead of reaching for the microwave bag, and choose air frying, baking, or grilling over deep frying. These are small, sustainable changes that protect the brain you depend on every day. Consistency matters more than perfection. Each swap reduces inflammatory exposure and supports clearer thinking and sharper memory over time. Robert made all 5 swaps within a single week. Within months, his wife noticed improved clarity, fewer forgotten conversations, and a return of the sharpness that had defined him for decades. His experience demonstrates that dietary choices carry real cognitive consequences, and that meaningful improvement is achievable through informed, consistent action. In the description below, you'll find links to my book, Navigating Dementia Together, and free resources, including home safety checklist, important resources links, and emergency contact list template. Remember, protecting your brain health doesn't require dramatic sacrifice. It requires awareness and the willingness to make smarter choices starting today. For your next video, I recommend watching our discussion on the hidden truth about vascular dementia recovery, which explores how cardiovascular health directly impacts brain function. You might also find value in our video covering the SLUMS cognitive assessment, where you can test your own brain function in real time. Your brain is counting on the choices you make at the kitchen table today. Which of these 5 swaps will you start with this week?